evening, everyone, and welcome to our episode tonight of Let's Talk About It. You are joined by your host, your one and only, me. And today we're going to do something a little different. As you know, usually I will have a guest or someone that will just be joining me on the panel, and also I'll be putting them on the hot seat. But it looks like it's really me that's on the hot seat today. So yeah, welcome. We have a different show that is currently going on today. It's going to be something different to the usual. I wanted to switch it up. This is more about, dilemmas. I had some people send in some of their own dilemmas. So these are like real life scenarios that we are going to be talking about today. I want this to be as interactive as we've ever had before. I want you guys to send it to a friend. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a mum to an auntie, maybe even your grandma. I don't know, but please get involved. I will be checking who is going to be watching, who is tuning in. I want comments. I want us to all be, interactive. You don't know who you are touching today. Let's literally give words of encouragement and words of advice to people who are obviously going through things. And, since the pandemic and even just life in general with the cost of living and all other pressures that we have got going on, life isn't easy. Life really isn't easy. And I want to thank all those who did send their dilemmas in. Can't take all of them. I think I'm only going to do a few so we can keep it short and concise, and probably do a part 2 whereby we have more people on the panel, so it's not just my voice you have to hear for the whole duration. So yeah, get involved, share this broadcast to your friends. I want to see comments below, give your own personal opinions and advice. If you don't agree with me, then I like criticism. So if you don't agree, then literally just pop it at the bottom and I will read. Let me know where you're watching from, your name, your area, anything like that, and I will give you a shout out. So we are currently streaming on both YouTube and Facebook, obviously on the FMC TV, and also on Pastor Moses GCF. So definitely get involved. And yeah, hopefully this will be a blessing to you all. Now, we're just going to go straight into it because it's just me, and usually I put someone else in the hot seat. But yeah, so our first dilemma is about overachieving and stress. So we do have someone who has said, "Hi Rox. So last year I graduated from university with a first class, and with the grace of God I've started working not long ago. I'm the oldest in my family and help my mum with bills. I also bake cakes as a side hustle. Over the past few months, my mum and relatives have let me know I need to keep climbing up my career ladder and start qualifications to get me a higher salary. Work is very stressful for me as it is, and I don't think I'm ready right now. I'm saving well and I'm very happy with my salary as it is. It just seems like I'm doing too much and people are pressuring me to overwork. But I also feel guilty knowing that I earn more than my mum and I have the ability to do more right now and help out." Okay. So, yeah, guys, what do you think about that? I will literally let you guys flood in the comment section and I will give my own opinion on that one. I'm not a fan of doing too much. Overworking yourself doesn't do much for you but stress you out. I mean, yes, God won't put more on you than you can bear. However, I just think whereby you're literally just getting your feet wet in your career. You've just graduated, you've got a first, congratulations, because I know that isn't easy. But then you've also done well in terms of you started your own cake company, baking cakes, and that's also very time consuming. I have to commend anyone who has actually started a business. It's not easy. You work for yourself and no one can build up your company like you can. No other employees, no matter who you hire, you will do for you what you think is best. You're helping out as it is. I think that a lot of there are a lot of individuals who don't actually know what adulting is until they move out and they get a place of their own. So the fact that you're already taking care of bills, you're helping your mum out, and obviously you said that you're the oldest, so I'm assuming you also help out with your siblings. You've got this. Like, don't do too much or don't overstress yourself, because health is wealth. So as long as you are healthy and you've got the right frame of mind, do what needs to be done. I mean, organizing, are you someone who, you're really good with time management? Are you a good multitasker? Um, if time management isn't, your strongest aspect or your strongest talent, should I say, don't take on more than you need to right now. I mean, you've literally just qualified. So, getting a first wasn't easy. You probably need to, recoup, get into the world of working before you start taking on other qualifications. And essentially, if you're, studying and you are, trying to balance your business, you're also working, and then you are taking care of a family, that can possibly be a lot for someone at your age right now, someone fresh out of uni. Not saying that you need to go against your mum or anyone or your relatives. However, coming from a place where I just qualified, I done a professional qualification this year, and I didn't have a second business. I wasn't baking cakes or anything like that. I had my 9 to 5 job, and I was also, studying at the same time and occasionally doing hair. But even that, it was like, yeah, I'm taking a pause on doing hair. I didn't feel like I wanted to do it around that time. It was a lot. So, and I probably didn't have the pressures that you have. So don't feel like you are, don't feel bad or go against or feel like you're going against your mum because you don't have the capacity right now to study. It's not that you can't do it and you won't eventually get there, but I think take time and see what it is that you actually want to do, and you can't be living for other people. That's one thing I would say. Obviously I would say pray on it, because essentially God's not going to steer you in the wrong direction. But yeah, even having a conversation with your mum and saying, you know what, I'm more than willing to help out as and where I can, like I've been doing before. However, I don't think going back into studying is going to help either of us, because essentially, if you burn out, where's the money coming from for the side hustle? Or you might start slacking in your actual 9 to 5. So bear those things in mind before you feel like you have to take on roles and responsibilities for everyone else. Yeah, that would be mine. If anyone has anything else that they would say or suggest, or advice that they want to give anyone in this comment section, please do so. I just want to acknowledge that we have Kemi, we have Sally, Habi, Bolaseni, that is joining in. We have a couple comments here. We've got congratulations for yourself. Yes, positive criticism is all right. Yeah, I'll take that. Stress overload will eventually turn to burnout, which I've obviously mentioned. Burnout is not the one. So literally within your means. You have really achieved more than others have done at your age. Take it easy and space yourself out. Don't overdo it and don't stress yourself out. Amazing. I will obviously just ensure that I am keeping tabs on Facebook as well. So if you are watching on Facebook, please do comment and let me know so I don't miss you out with this. All right, so next dilemma. And I like the title of this. The pressure is getting worse. I'm actually loving these dilemmas. So thank you. I know I'm going to keep them all anonymous. So yeah. Hi, let's talk about it, fam. What are your thoughts? I like to go out with my best friend and her circle of friends at times. Brunches, girls' dinner, and so forth. These girls always seem to have designer clothes and outfits, and sometimes it makes me feel insecure. They're also much more popular than me on social media, and so going out with them sometimes make me feel a bit less, if you know what I mean. My friends always tell me how they sometimes go out with certain guys and ask for money. My girl invited me to join. They said they don't do anything with them and only meet in external public places. I know it's wrong, but I sometimes feel left out and that I have way less than these girls. Okay. Um, Hefty one. Let's see what everyone else is saying about. Okay, well, we already have something here. Um, you must not be a people pleaser, but do what is right with your conscience. Now, what I would say with this is definitely about that people pleaser, because I feel as though as we get older, the pressure does get worse, as you know, we know. But you also have to think about your morals, girl. Like, I will always say live within your means. If you have it, you have it. If you don't force it, don't rush it. Work towards it if needs be. But don't feel less than because of something that someone's wearing. That person can be wearing £1,000 designer bag and literally be in overdraft. So don't even think about it in that sense. Um, your morals. Your morals. I mean, if they're saying that they're not doing anything wrong, you yourself, you know the type of person you are. Is this something you can do? Can you hang around with guys just for the simple fact that you know they're going to give you money? Because there is a word for that. No judgment, but there there is a name for that. Um, I would also say you might need to consider, not necessarily consider your group of friends, but then if you know that that might be a trigger point for you, you might need to reconsider how often you are going out with these girls, because essentially the more you see those things, you're going to constantly feel triggered that, you know, you're less than, or, you know, you might always feel insecure around these people, and it can be detrimental to you and your mental health, and even your, like, the way you're walking. If you have a path in which you're trying to get to and that doesn't play out for you because you're focused on other people's paths and what other people are doing, you're gonna literally end up in at the wrong destination for yourself. It's literally just like how we do say, focus on your own path, focus on, you know, the route that God has for you. Because essentially you're looking left to right, you're thinking, okay, maybe let me take this same route. The person, when you're as a driver, when you're driving side by side with another car, your destination is not the same place, same as their destination. So if you're going to say, okay, this person's turning right, let me also turn right, see if I get to it. Baby, it don't work like that. It's not going to work like that. So definitely focus on yourself. Everyone's destination is different. Everyone's paths are different. Even if the destination is the same place, there are many routes that you can take. But I think you need to go with what is on your conscience, what you feel is right, what lines with your morals, and what you can also live with. Because I don't know how I feel about, you know, asking people for money, asking men for money, men that I don't know. That's definitely something. So I'll say reconsider your friends, or don't put yourself in a place or in a spot where you're always in the midst of girls that make you feel less than. It's not healthy. I don't think it's healthy for anyone. So yeah, I mean, definitely. I think guys, help me out with this one. I don't know. I don't know whether what I've advised is good advice. I don't know whether it's something in which you yourself who sent this in, it's something you can do. But it's literally about protecting your peace, protecting your space, your mind width, and putting yourself first. If that's something you can't do, don't feel bad about it. If it's something you want to be able to do and achieve, work for it for yourself. Not that you're claiming off of other people or you're coming to be. That's you know, that's giving me city girls versus Christian girls in my opinion. But think about it. Think about what it is that you want to do. Pray on it. If it means that you might even need to distance yourself from those type of friends, your peace actually comes first. So protect it. And yeah, so some of the comments here: believe in yourself and work on your self-esteem. We are all running a different race in life. Be true to yourself and don't try to please others. I pray that the Lord will direct your path. Contentment is key, which I think is amazing. It is very important to actually be content and grateful for the things that you do have, because sometimes you look at where you were 5 years from today and think, rah, this where I am now is actually a prayer point, and God's done it for me. There are people that have a lot more, well, a lot less than what you do. And just being grateful about everything, the good and the bad, giving God praise for all of that can be a key to your blessings. So if you're trying to unlock that, just keep that in mind. Those the things, oh sorry, I don't know what's going on with my reading today. Those things other girls are wearing could be borrowed. Be pleased with yourself, knowing that you are who you are, because that is who God wants you to be. I agree with all what the host is saying. Thank you. And apparently I'm giving great advice, so I'm going to continue. Yeah, definitely. If anyone else has any other dilemmas that you want to send in, definitely do so. I'm going to keep reading from the ones that I do have here. This one's quite different. So dilemma number 3. I have started dating a girl I really like. However, her standards seem too high, and she always wants to go to expensive places. I'm guessing that's what it's supposed to read. I don't want to lose her, but my account can't keep up. From a female perspective, what do you suggest I do? This is quite similar to the one in which I feel like we've just read out. Obviously not so much, as we're relating it back to obviously dating. What I would say is I think it's difficult whereby you have probably already introduced her to an energy or a level in which you can't maintain, which I think is a lot of guys' problem. If it's not within your means, don't start off on a high, because the more you bring it down, then the girl just automatically is going to get at you, because essentially you're switching up on her. And that might not necessarily be the case. However, I think there needs to be a conversation had, because if this is someone you're saying you don't want to lose, but your account isn't keeping up, what's going to happen when your account runs dry? Because then at that point, it's not even Nando's that can do if your account's not up to date. But I think definitely, especially if you want to take it far, finances isn't always an easy conversation to have with someone, especially during the courting stage or the relationship stage, or whatever stage you're at, the talking stage, etc. But even if you kind of say, you know what, like we done this last week or we done this last month, why don't we do something a bit more chilled, or something in which isn't necessarily, that's not going to take up that much money. I mean, you kind of have to be like creative in that sense. I think maybe doing something in which you don't need to necessarily pay for. I mean, summertime, a picnic in the park is a good idea, I would say. But obviously, you're not spending that much. Just have a conversation. If you feel so, after you have that conversation, she's kind of saying, okay, bye, she don't want it, then unfortunately, sir, that wasn't the girl for you. That wasn't the woman for you. She should be very understanding in a sense where, like, not everyone's, like, I remember my mum saying, all fingers are not equal. Like, not everyone's bank account is actually the same. So if you feel like you can't do it and you run the risk of losing her, then that means there may be something a bit, flat to the surface. Like, it's not exactly what you think it is, or the connection isn't as deep as you think it will be, because you and her's relationship can't be based on dates alone. There needs to be more to it. If going forward, or in a point in time you're low on funds, can she also help to support you? And I'm talking marriage wise in the long run or whatever. But these are conversations I feel should be had earlier on, as opposed to later on, whereby you've shown her a lifestyle and then sometime later you're saying, yeah, I can't do it anymore. If you know that that's what you want now and that's what you can't do, have that conversation. I will say communication is key. So yeah, keep a gratitude diary can be helpful. I think that's obviously relating to the scenario before, but yeah, definitely keep the comments coming. I appreciate all who are tuning in, but Yeah, I think if you have any advice for our brother who is dating a girl that is trying to run him dry, then let us know. All right, so we've got a couple more. Just curious of time, I will take another three, and I think that will be it. So, dilemma number 4. Hi, Roxanne. I just wanted to get your take on my current situation. I'm 26 and currently still living at home with my parents. I have been thinking to move out and rent somewhere as I don't feel like I have freedom or privacy and space in my house. My parents are against me moving out and said I can't move out unless it's to my husband's house. I'm not even dating anyone right now, so this seems like a stretch. I also don't want to be disobedient. What should I do? Okay, so I think you definitely. I mean, we have some parents on this platform right now who are tuning in. So please let me know your takes on this, because I think it's beyond being disobedient at this point. I think we need to think of whether there are boundaries that need to be set in the household. Like if you're 26 and you're living at home and you don't feel like you have your freedom or your space or privacy, that's a conversation that needs to be had. I mean, especially with the cost of living right now and how life is just life in, renting might not be such a great getaway from your home situation right now. If you can afford to do it and you can have a conversation and reason with your parents and be like, hey, you know what, this is actually unbearable, I can't do it, then that has to be something in which, you have a conversation with your parents about. I will never, ever, ever sit here and tell someone to disobey their parents. However, that is also something in which we need to discuss with parents. Like, are you guys approachable enough? Are you not trying to listen and hear where where your kids are coming from? Do you not have that type of relationship with your kids where there's trust, where you can, extend a bit of freedom to them, especially when they're in their like mid to late 20s? I think for you to say, you cannot leave until you get to your husband's house and she's 26 and she isn't dating anyone. Okay, come on. What I would say is I don't think it is as easy as once your husband comes along, then you can move out. There may be things in which your child wants to explore, or there are goals they want to achieve or reach before they get to that marital place. And as a parent, whether your child is a teenager or they're a young adult or anything like that, I think you owe it to them to actually be able to sit down and have a reasonable conversation. Let them be honest and open with you. How they feel, as a parent, I'm sure you feel when your child's in pain, when they're unhappy, or when there's something going on. If you can take that pain away from them, or at least ease something like that, surely any parent will want to do so. Now, if your child is saying right now, this living situation is not working for me and I want to move out, surely shouldn't something make you feel as though, okay, how can we make it better? If your child is willing to sit down and have a conversation with you and say, if even if it's like a curfew thing, or I want to be able to, knock on my door and wait for my response, or anything like that. I think these are reasonable things in which it can't just be like, yeah, but it's my house. I'm the one that pays the rent here, or I'm the one that pays the mortgage here. You do as I say. You might end up driving your child away. And when they do actually move out, there will be no means or reason for them to contact you or come back to the house. And I say this in a way where I'm not going to, sugarcoat it or say it in like a religious aspect, but in this modern world right now, it's very easy for a 26-year-old to go out and just say, hey, I want to rent something. If they have the money and they can do so, they'll do it. And whereby you want to keep a very strong relationship with your child, it's communication. It's being able to set boundaries and break the barrier down, or the traditional views or ways of, it's my house and you do as I say. I think having a conversation with them and letting them know that, okay, you want to support, Maybe not move out. However, we'll extend some boundaries. We won't disturb you with this. You can go out and you can come back at this time instead, as long as you let us know who you're going with, or just certain things. Have a conversation. It might actually save you from having to move out or having to pay rent, and it might just save your relationship with your parents or with your children better than just sticking to that. But I guess I know that there will be people who have opposing views to myself, especially if you are traditional or you do believe that your child or your daughter shouldn't move out of the house until they are going into their marital home. So yeah, let's think about or look at what some people are saying. So Bolaseni has said, be patient with your parents. Take the advice strongly. You will kiss them later. Meho said, the difficult conversations need to be had. You don't want them to leave your home on bad terms. And I think that's my biggest point. Like, if your child now decides, okay, I'm out of here, and they rent, and they have the money to do so. Let's say, for instance, the previous scenario, if it was the lady who has the means for herself, she's got her own business, she's got a first class, she's got a good job, her salary's okay, and she can do that. If you guys leave on bad terms, there'll be no reason for her to actually be like, okay, I need you, mum or dad, or whatever. Like that, it will be harder for you to be able to keep an eye on them or to have that close relationship with them when they're outside the household. So I'm not a parent, so you can tell me otherwise and say, well, you don't know anything and you can wait until you have your own children to know how it is. That's fine. But as a child, I think one thing I'm grateful for is I have that relationship with my parents where we can discuss these boundaries. There are boundaries that are set and they're respected. And if they're not, I don't feel like I can't not talk to my parents about it. But I do understand there are people that don't have that. But I think that's what makes me close with my parents. So if that's something in which you can exercise with your own children, then definitely do so. Yes, I agree. So Kemi here said, yes, I agree to having a conversation with your parents. You are old enough. We have Adebola Ahmed who said, why is the living situation not good for them as much as you are asking is too? Okay. So that's different. I mean, you can also ask that, what is it about the living situation? But I'm thinking, obviously, the scenario says, the spaces, there's no space or privacy or freedom. That might answer your question, I think. And then we have Bonaseni who has said, just make sure when you leave, it is under good terms. Please talk with your parents and let them know how you are feeling. Ask to be reasonable. You should also ask them what makes them uncomfortable. It is washing up after themselves. Well, is it washing up after themselves? All you young people go to uni and you live well and come back home expecting us to pick up after you. Clean after you. You are an adult when you want to get your way and a child when you need help. That's a very fair and strong point. Okay. So that might be something in which whoever has sent this dilemma in, you need to consider. So are you someone in which, you're not actually helping around the house, or you're not really adulting in the house and you expect to live like an adult but be treated like a child? That's also something in which I would say us fellow kids, we might need to reconsider and see whether there is certain things in which we too are doing to our parents that they don't like, because it actually is a two-way street. So yeah, thanks for that. That's a different perspective that I didn't think of either. So thank you, Adebola, for that. I don't know if we should move on quickly. Just curious of time, guys. All right, so the next dilemma, I think, is this dilemma 5? Okay, so dilemma 5. I've been in a relationship for almost 2 years now, and every time I bring up the topic of marriage, my boyfriend becomes nervous or changes the subject. He says he wants us to get married but is not ready financially yet. He hasn't said when he will be ready, but he doesn't want to talk about it. Do I wait until he is ready? Okay. What I would say is, if he's shying away from that conversation, you need to really think about the reason as to why he is. It should be deeper than you're not financially ready. I think if this is someone in which you say you want to marry, and if he actively says, okay, you know what, you are the person that I want to marry, these are difficult conversations that needs to be had. Now, if it means there's like a timeline in which he can give you, and if you say, okay, by this time we expect to be here, if we're not there by a certain date, do you leave? Do you walk away? Is that reasonable for you? Is it that he just, when, let's just see how it goes? Sis, you might need to run away, because that's time in which you don't know if that's going to be another 2 years before he's ready to open up and he's ready to have that conversation with you. And if you guys are already thinking that it's going to go into that marriage setting, that's finances is a conversation. Have now and understand where he is. So at least you guys both have your expectations. If you're expecting to get married the end of next year, but he's now thinking 2027, have that conversation. If he's not willing to have that conversation, you might need to start thinking whether this is the guy for you, or whether he's just, wasting your time, anything like that. But I think the biggest thing for me is communication. The biggest thing. Help me out here. What do you think our sister should do? She is in a relationship with someone. She's been in a relationship with this person for 2 years, and he does not want to talk about marriage. He says he's not financially there yet. However, shuts down with the conversation. I think if he can honestly be like, okay, I'm not financially ready. However, this is my plan. This is where I want us to be. This is what we're doing. Is he actively taking steps to become financially ready? Is he just not trying to have that conversation at all? These are things in which, we have to be clear on and understand what is currently going on there. Okay, this might be a ruse for him. For if he says he is not financially ready, then he must show that he is working towards it by being prudent. If he is going out with the boys, then that's an excuse. Yeah, then that excuse is an excuse, girl. I agree with that. I think, like I've said, if he's not showing or that he's actively trying to save, or he's not cutting costs in certain places, and you're not having those conversations and there's no transparency in it, then I think you do need to reconsider whether this is someone you can or need to be with. Because if he can, just shut down with certain conversations, and hard conversations for him, he runs and shies away from, to me, that's a red flag. Not an amber, not a pink, not a green, that's a red flag. However, it may not actually always be the case with everyone. But if you do actually try and get him to talk and open up and say, listen, this is something that is very passionate to me, I need to know. If not, I'm walking. Sometimes you might need to put them on the hot seat and see how they react to it. If he's still like, yeah, I don't care, I'm not having that conversation, then sis, walk. Okay, so a few comments here, because like I said, I might not actually have the greatest advice, but this is based on what I would do and what I would advise to anyone I love, my sisters, my cousins, my friends, anyone like that. However, if you do check in the chat pane, you do have people who are also giving their own side and their own comments to this situation. So yeah, like you said, a conversation needs to be had. It's okay that he's not financially ready, but it needs to be intentional and provide assurance. Please make sure he's not a time waster. Please pray about it and ask God to lead you. Amen. I expect that. I understand it. And that's the best advice that we can give. Literally, we can sit here on the platform and give you advice, but ultimately, God is the perfect provider, the King of all kings, the Lord of lords, and will be able to direct you the best. So definitely pray about it. Could be a prayer or fast. It could be seeking counsel from any of your spiritual leaders, but definitely go forth with it. A man knows within 6 months if you are the one. Financially ready is not an excuse. Have that candid conversation. If not, walk. So definitely keep that in mind. With this Gen Z age, communication is really key. What is he doing financially to show he is working towards this? Okay. And then we have people who are obviously interacting with each other in the chats. Please let us advise our girls to open eyes. Some prayers are being answered when he is playing with you with this excuse. And God is Sorosoke through that situation. Shine your eyes, please. Okay. Amazing, amazing. I think we'll take one more because time is going, but I'm really appreciative of all those who are commenting. It's nice to, it's nice to get a different perspective on all these things, from those who have been through it, those who, have their own takes on it, and literally just from the wise, in all honesty. But yeah, Dilemma 6, guys. Hi, Rox. I'm 31 and have been single for almost 3 years now. I would like to start dating, but the kind of guys that approach me don't seem serious. I'm finding it hard to date and don't really know what I'm doing wrong. Would you give any tips or suggestions on where these guys are? In all honesty, my dear, I can't tell you myself. I don't know where all the serious guys are hiding. I don't know where they are. What I would say is definitely consider where you're going and where you are finding these guys. Like if you're going to parties or like even day parties and you're thinking like, oh yeah, like this guy might be serious. He could, but he also couldn't. A lot of times now I have heard girls say even sometimes church guys aren't serious, and it might just be okay, but take in what church guys are you going for, or who's approaching you, or how are you carrying yourself. I mean, that may not necessarily be a fault of your own, but I think when we talk about strategically placing yourself in places that might also have a thing, like me personally, I wouldn't go to a party and expect to meet a guy, or there are different things. They could be through friends. There are weddings. A lot of weddings are happening nowadays where you do see some single people. That might be something. Networking, it could be, Christian networking. It could be networking through friends. It could be through work. There are numerous places, but I would say keep your options open. I know I've had talks with my aunts and with people in my life saying, oh, Roxanne, don't be too picky. Don't be too fast to like brush a guy off or whatever. Not. And, I'm not saying that the guys that you're saying aren't serious aren't actually serious, but I would say just be a bit more open. At the moment you feel as though, this definitely isn't for you, or, I'm not saying compromise. Like if you feel as though your morals aren't aligned, your religious beliefs aren't aligned, your visions aren't aligned, then you already know that's not what you need. However, I think sometimes it takes for you to focus on yourself and don't actively go out looking for men. And I know I've said this before, guys, but it's actually he who finds a wife finds a good thing, not she who finds a man is blessed. I don't feel like a girl should actively be out there looking for her husband. I think focus on yourself, continue doing what you're doing, pray. It will come to you, and there isn't necessarily a right or wrong place to meet someone. It can happen anywhere. It can happen as you're walking to the bus stop. It can happen on your commute to work. It can happen at a friend's dinner. It can happen anywhere. But what I would say is don't go out searching for it, because essentially you could end up just falling for anything, as opposed to, focusing on yourself and attracting the right person for you, or, focusing on what God intends for you. Seek God first and all things will be added on to you. Hold that dearly to yourself. Seek God, seek the work, seek your purpose and all other things, and God will give you your heart's desires. And with his time, and when the time is right And when he has sculpted the guy to the perfection that you need for your own self, then he will come along. But I think, don't give in to the pressures of society. And you probably do hear from, aunties and uncles, when will you marry? Like, time's ticking. Don't even think like that, because God will do it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And that's just really what it is. I'm not someone who likes pressure. I don't take pressure lightly. I will smile and nod in your face. Or, like, I know aunties, if you're watching, there's times where if you've asked me that, I've just said, pray for me. That's just my response to it, because I'm not going to go out actively looking or forcing myself on any guy that will give me attention. Marriage is for life. So if you're actively looking for someone, you need to know that this person is serious and that's who you want. Going back to some of the comments here, can I say that guys are there, but they're probably too geeky for you? Okay. God might choose that guy that is not a good dresser, very geeky, but he is not your type, and you will never give him a chance. I have actually heard and seen this actually happen, and I think that's why I say don't be too picky and be open, because things like him not being able to dress the certain way that you want him to can change. I mean, you can change that. It's where his morals and his vision and all them things lie. That's what you need to be focused on, judging on whether that is something you need to go forth with. But his dress sense is not that deep. You can help change that. Just be yourself. Be confident and love who you are first. You will attract the right person. And pray. Preach. Please be open to the will of God. That good dresser that ticks all the boxes may not be the one. If you are open to the will of God, he will do it. Just be patient. Okay, and then we have great advice, nothing more to add. Thank you. And then remember, opposites attract. Okay. I don't know if there are any more comments regarding those dilemmas, but what I would say is, in all these things, all these advice and things that we've told you and said, above all, seek counsel from God and those who are your leaders, whether that is your spiritual father, your pastor, anyone in the church, or anyone who can give you that guidance and advice. Go for it, because essentially we can sit here and tell you what I think you should do. However, if that's not really in line with your walk, then my advice is just doesn't really work. But yeah, thank you so much for all those who have tuned in. We have shot over time. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but I say this every time and then I always end up overrunning. But I'm very, very, very happy for all those responses I have got, for it being such an interactive session. That's what I really wanted. Please make sure that you tune in for another series or another episode next month. I don't know I know what it'll be, but I'll let you guys know what the topic will be on. And you never know who our guest speaker will be. But thank you all for tuning in. That's all we have time for this evening. I love you guys so much. Have a blessed weekend, and may God continue to be all your strengths and guide you according to his will. Have a lovely evening.